Hello and welcome to episode 59 of the Late Challenge podcast. Hopefully you can hear us now. After a few weeks of sorting stuff out in the new studio, we're live at 5-ish again. So if you join us live, hello. Hopefully can they hear us? Are you getting comments?
Well, the first comment I've had is "Comed la." Oh, yeah, sounds good. Oh no sound. Hey, just tell us it. Oh, loud and clear.
Can you hear us?
Two people have said they can hear us, and one says no sound.
That'll
so
do.
The majority says they can't hear us.
So
we can hear you. Sounds good. Yeah, but they're all coming in now.
There we go. We're
Sounds up their heads. We're in. Go on.
This is what's happening with live recordings. So if you listen to this back as a podcast, none of this will make any sense to you. But this is the first time we've gone live again in the new studio. And we're back live following something we haven't seen for quite a while, which was Liverpool managing to beat Liverpool 4-3 at Old Trafford, which we're going to get into. We've got loads to talk about, including how did we manage to lose that game against the maddest formation I've ever seen in my life. So we're going to have a good old therapy session for the first part of the show. And we'll get through all the negatives and we'll sort all that out. And then we're going to come back to the positives and we'll talk about all the great things we've got ahead of us.
Someone's just suggested that we just change the name of the podcast to the Late Podcast.
Yeah, nice.
I like that. Idea. Oh yeah, and we should say, shouldn't we, as well, that now that we're back to being live again, people can do that thing now. I still don't know what the name of it is.
Super chat,
super like, whatever it is. It's another way you can throw money in and say that you like what we do and you want it to continue. We've got the other thing as well, haven't we? The buy us a coffee.
Yeah,
we got Patreon as well.
Yeah, so there's links that we don't actually, because we're by our own admission middle-aged fellas now, so we don't even know how you do the super chat thing, do we?
No idea.
But if you know how to do that, you can do it now while you're watching live. But if you don't know how to do that, you can subscribe to our Patreon show, or if you don't want to do that, buy us a coffee. There's links underneath, or there will be links underneath this show on the podcast and on the YouTube channel. We're going to do what we usually do now, which is just talk about it in two big shows put together. A couple of people recently have had a little moan that the second show, which goes on our Patreon channel, isn't out quick enough. And we're hopefully going to sort that, because we're going to try and do that live as well, which will be after this. So if you want to join us straight after that one, after this show, you can come to Patreon. Go to the links below this show. If you're not already a subscriber, you can join us for free on a 7-day free trial to check it out. There's loads of shows there. There's a back catalogue of stuff you can get into. But now that all that admin is sorted, let's get into the Man United game, which was yesterday as we're doing this, if you're listening after the event. As often these days, you were at the match and I was at home, so we've got two different views. We're going to start with the negatives, as I've said. Nothing more negative than the thing, and I know we're going to start, and most people watching this are going to be Liverpool fans, so we're preaching to the choir, but I still think it's worth us talking about. And it's mad that we still have to talk about this in 2024, but just to say, I want to get your view on it, because I know you've got strong views on it. It's mad that I have to say out loud that chanting about people dying and poverty is not acceptable. It never was, but it especially isn't now. So can we just knock it on the head? And it was mad that watching it at home, and I've seen a couple of people have tweeted us about this when we've asked for comments, saying, why wasn't it called out on TV? Because I think Carragher on Sky called something out a couple of months ago, didn't he?
And he did a piece on it.
It was audible. It was audible on ITV, and they didn't mention it. And I actually think that's one of the things that needs to be done now. The TV companies need to say to their commentators and the co-commentators, call it out.
There just needs to be lots of pairs of balls grown over this. Some from the TV commentators, yeah, I agree. Some from people covering the match and you know, who have got a platform via the media that they work for, and then they'll say things like blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, there was some tragedy chanting. No. Klopp kicking off in an interview with one broadcaster is not bigger news than people mocking dead people at a football match. And I just think we need to talk honestly across football and across all fan bases about this going on. And one of the things that's really disappointed me in the time we've had since the game is I don't see any Man United fan groups. I don't see any significant, fan influencers, for want of a better phrase, coming out and condemning this. There's a lot of silence. And this isn't one or two people. I'm seeing loads of whataboutery. I'm seeing a smoke bomb ended up in the disabled section at Man United. Look, I was in the ground. I was in the top tier. I could see smoke bombs go. I don't know where they landed. If they landed in the disabled section, quite clearly that's not acceptable. That is knobhead behaviour. That is bellendry at a football match. Sound. But so is thousands of people singing "The sun is right, you're murderers." You know, you're singing about something 35 years ago where 97 people died, where hundreds more were deeply affected by what went on, where people ended up committing suicide, where people are still coping basically with PTSD, had the families ruined, lost their friends, lost their mums, lost their dads, lost kids, you know, whatever. Why has this been seen? Why is it ever put in a frame of it's only banter and it's acceptable that you can go to a football match, stand in front of Liverpool fans and start doing things like this to simulate a crush in 1989? I don't get why that isn't called out by absolutely everyone. It's got nothing to do with Liverpool, Man United or anything else. Fuck the tribalism off, put the tribalism to one side and just say, how about we be decent human beings in 2024? And all we ever get from some people is either silence, and silence to me is getting close to being complicit, and then you get, you know, well, what about this and what about that? And look, okay, so I'm 47 years old, and I can remember when Liverpool fans were guilty of chanting about Munich. But in 2024, I can tell you honestly with my hand on my heart that I can't remember the last time that happened. And if I ever hear it at games, I've challenged it personally. Not yesterday, I didn't hear anyone do it. Genuinely didn't hear anyone do it. I don't see people doing playing gestures. I don't see all that stuff that did go on now. And so the order of how these things happen doesn't matter anymore. It's 2024, so let's just all be better. Because if there are people like Charlotte Hennessy who's affected by this because she's lost family, and she's putting it on Twitter, I am affected by this, can you all stop doing it? Let's all stop doing it. And why won't Man United groups, why won't their supporters, why won't their influential fans, why won't they come out and condemn this? Where are they? What are they saying? Because if it was the other way around, I'd say it. I don't think any tragedy, any form of death at a football match or around a football match is acceptable to sing about, to throw at someone, to you know, imitate, to throw around on social networks or whatever. I just think we need to jib it all off. And look, you know, there have been loads of steps made. You know, we're now seeing clubs saying, well, we'll ban you if you do it. We're now seeing police forces get involved. We're seeing FA put out pithy statements, which is, you know, par for the course. Like, what is that statement that they put out? Like, it doesn't even say who was doing it. Like, a big section of the Stretford end are doing it, mate. Like, I can hear it, because I'm in the away end from among 9,000 Liverpool fans, and I heard it. And we never shut up, pretty much, for the whole of the 2 hours. Well, obviously moments where we did, based on what happened, but I could hear it. I could hear them singing it. And then in and around the game, you know, like walking to and from, I hear stuff about Heysel, I hear stuff about Hillsborough, and I hear it said in a sort of just a throwaway, jokey manner. So to me, there is clearly a problem, not en masse, but among a significant proportion, let's say that, of their fans saying this is acceptable and it is okay, and of no one self-policing and of no one challenging it. Mm-hmm. So do better, lads. Do better, because I'm telling you now, if I saw someone in our end doing it, I would challenge it. So you do the same, or crack on. If that's how you want to be, crack on.
Yeah, well, 100%. And look, we have talked about this before, and it's a shame that you have to talk about it again. And I think it's important to repeat this stuff until it's stopped. And it's worth saying on a couple of things you said then, to be clear, before anybody else chips in and fans from other clubs see this and have a go. Like we have said before, I have been a part of crowds. I have sang those songs when I was a young kid, basically, before I knew the implications. Before, when you do think, oh, it's just a song in a football match. And as a nearly 44-year-old man now, I'm ashamed of being in crowds that did that. And I would never do it again. And if I saw someone else doing it, I would say, stop doing that, and here's why.
Because you know better, because you're educated, because you understand the consequences.
Exactly.
And how many people are out there that don't? Like, are you saying that Beck, who's all over social media today, look at the age of the man. Are you saying he doesn't know what he's doing and what the potential consequences are and how that could affect people's mental health, etc.? Of course he knows. That's why he's doing it. He wants to do that. He wants to go that far. He chooses to go that far. And there might now be some consequences for him. And you know what? Good.
Well, there should be. And that's the point we've got to. And I do think one more thing to say, because you mentioned not seeing Liverpool fans. I think it's worth us saying as well, if there are any Liverpool fans who are watching this or listening to this, who do participate in this type of stuff, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, it's time to stop. Whether you've done it in the past or not, stop. Everybody, like, arms down, guns down, end the game. Like, it's not.
It's just grim.
It is.
It's just grim. It's grim, and it makes you want to. It should be a place that I'm quite happy to take my son. It should be a place that I'm happy to take my daughter, etc., etc. It's not the 1980s anymore. And what about Tree saying, well, what about when Liverpool did X and Y? I'm sorry, but you just haven't got a big body of evidence in recent times. It's not there. Because by and large, yes, there are blurts that follow Liverpool. There's no two ways about that. And some behaviour sometimes crosses the line. But it's your turn. You've crossed the line en masse. So where's the voices within your crowd, within your fan base, even the club itself? I've not seen too much. I looked for it earlier and I couldn't see too much. And someone can correct me if I'm wrong on this. But I looked for a club statement, couldn't see anything, not on their website or anything like that. And I can remember 2012, when Ferguson was still there, he challenged it. He come out and said, let's just stop singing these songs because, we're better than that. We don't want to be doing it. And then the club reinforced what the manager said with a statement. So where's that kind of stuff now? Why aren't we seeing stuff like that? And I just think we're going down like a bit of a grim road lately, and I'm not too sure what the trigger is for it. But, we've seen, Man City fans engaging in similar behaviour. We've seen even their players and their manager on a plane singing a certain song, etc. And, once upon a time, not so long ago, we had... I don't think we're ever getting hands across the M62 or anything like that. There's always going to be rivalry, and there's a level of it that I love, but just know where the line is. Like, even that, I'll reference the Berg again. What the Berg does before he goes down the road of mock and tragedy is, if you want to give me a wanker sign in a football match, if you want to give me the V's, if you want to call me a scouse bastard, sound. Because I've said all that back. And you know what? When we went 2-1 up, I'm throwing V signs out at people because that is part of it. I don't mind that bit of it. I like there to be some form of edge. Just recognise where the line is. There's loads to go at. You can skip people's ear. You can skip people's clobber. You can say our bands are better than theirs or our clobber's better than yours or whatever you want. Just don't go there. Just don't go there. Just know that that's the line and just don't go there. And looking now, as I say, there are increasingly likely to be consequences for that behaviour as well because, the police have arrested someone. They haven't said who it is, but they've arrested someone. One arrest, like. But yeah, the FA have, as I say, have put out their pithy statements. But where are the rest of the pithy statements? And like I say, I find that a bit disappointing because, I'll be the first one to say, and I've said it many a time, that having worked there for 10 years, there's a lot that I recognise about Manchester in terms of culture and how people act and their humour and even the politics, etc. This doesn't chime with that. So is this what you want your club to be like? Is this what you want your fan base to be like? Is this how you want to be thought of? Or do you want to be better? Up to you, lads.
Yeah, and look, the point you made then about Ferguson and happening, that's over a decade ago now. It is a bit of a segue into talking about the match, which is difficult. It's difficult to talk about footy after dealing with something, a serious topic like that. But it probably says a lot about where United are right now, about the leadership of the club, both the manager and off the pitch. And I think that might be something we do see change in the coming months when the ownership structure is the new people involved are more heavily involved, because it is time for something to be done. I can't imagine it being left the other way round to our end for all the criticism FSG get. Like, I think something would be done, and I think Klopp would say something. He's criticised our fans for lesser stuff than this.
So of the club, yeah.
So
I mean, the other thing I wanted to add on that, just while I'm on one and while it's in my mind, I remember I wrote a piece about this for the Anfield app going back some years, and I talked about what I termed tragedy tennis. So, you know, you talk about Hillsborough, we talk about Munich, all of that. How about we just knock it all on the head, and as you just said. But the other thing was that I can remember where I grew up. There was a massive bit of graffiti on a wall, Munich 58, when I was growing up. And when I can remember first seeing it on a bus when I was with my nan, and I didn't understand the reference. I remember seeing it though, stuck in my mind. And then as time went on, obviously I understood both what it meant and why it was there. And I also understand why once upon a time some people thought that was acceptable place to go. And I understand as well, you know, let's get fully into nuance and context here. I understand as well why there'll be some Manchester United fans who say, well, you used to sing that. You used to do that. You used to write that. You used to throw that at us. It was even on a flag once upon a time as the other classic. And we've got to put our hands up and say there were people in our fan base who did think that was acceptable. And that did happen. But again, it's 2024. And again, you know, Hillsborough is 35 years ago next month. Just time to let it go, to leave it, to move on. You know, let these people have rest. Let them live in a world where they can still engage with their own football club and not be getting upset by what they're hearing. Do you know what I mean? And as I say, and some responsibility comes to broadcasters, to media, and to fans themselves to self-police and to shout out and to say, let's be better than this. You know, there was the Park song as well. Like, where's that come from? Why's that come back? Really? Like, I remember reading a fantastic piece by a monk about that song and about why everything about it was wrong and why everything about it was a poor reflection on the fact that they were singing it. There it was again yesterday. Wow. Why have we gone backwards? You know what I mean? Like, you know, I can remember City fans holding a thing about the Sun, that, like, in solidarity with us. Do you know what I mean? Why have we gone backwards? Why are we going base? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, there is a deeper conversation to be had about society and post lockdowns and COVID and all of that does tie into this stuff, and I've seen quite a bit about. And at the end of the day, there's no excuses. It's, as we keep saying, it's 2024, and all these references to the past, and we can talk about this in so much of society now. Like, well, that was all right in the 1960s. Like, well, it's not all right now. Times change, things change. And this has changed. Little Britain's not on the telly anymore. Etc. Exactly. Like, and look, we can have a big debate about where the line is and what's acceptable and what isn't. And you and I, we have those conversations ourselves on here and privately. And some things are just, there is a clear line. Like, I'm happy to discuss other things. This is a clear line. I don't understand why any grown person would argue differently. In the cold light of day, caught up in emotion, but walk like face to face. I don't understand how you can justify it. So if you want to justify it, come and do it, but don't justify it with, you did this 20, 30 years ago, because that's not a justification for anything. But we'll leave it there, because we've talked about it a lot. And as I say, it is. It's hard to go, well, let's move on to the footy. And we'll have to. We do need to go on to the footy. So let's get into the match. You were there. Well, because the mad thing about it was, like, we actually exchanged some messages at half time, didn't we? Yeah. And I'm watching on telly, and you were like, "Oh, it's a pity I didn't see that." Like, literally at half time, Roy Keane is losing his mind on telly. You could tell he's about to blow his top in the way only Roy Keane can about Man United, because he was furious with them, and they were literally worried we were going to run all over them in the second half, which is what looked like was going to happen. There's 9,000 Liverpool fans there. So what was it like? What was the experience like of being there?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic to have 9,000 Liverpool fans there for a start off, and that is one of the bonuses of the FA Cup, the fact that you get those big allocations. I read and heard a lot about the atmosphere being brilliant at Old Trafford and all this kind of stuff. And I had a bit of a wry smile about it, to be honest, because I kind of think a lot of that's fueled by the fact you've got 9,000 Liverpool fans there who didn't shut up for, you know, the duration pretty much. And that obviously helps to bring to life other parts of the stadium. And then there's the game itself, of course, and the roller coaster nature of it. But look, I went there, and I've got to be honest, I went there thinking we were going to win, and I went there thinking we'd win quite well, because I've watched them a fair bit this season, and to be honest, my opinion's not changed off them after watching that either. They're not very good.
Yeah.
And I'm not...
I think this is the maddest bit about the whole thing.
Yeah, and I'm not having the manager, and I'm not having, like, a lot of players they've got at their football club, and, like, it made me laugh because I know why football phone-ins exist, and I know why the people who get airtime are giving it, and yet I still, you know, me inner chimp still gets triggered by it, and that's the point, isn't it? Like I say, and I'm, you know, the other side, the rational side of my brain's going, don't get triggered by that. That's what they want you to do, and why even listen to it? Put, I don't know, classical music on or something, but I never do. I'm always there. But I heard a classic of, you know, we're back, and I'm like, you're not back. Where are you back to? You know, how many points are they behind us in the league? 17, is it, or something like that? There's a huge gap for a reason. And look, as you said at the top, and it was a good intro, you know, we've beaten ourselves, ultimately, because they start well, you know, and you'd sort of expect them to in terms of what the recent schedule's been for the two sides. Like, they had more energy, and that told, ultimately. And I think, you know, if you were him, if you were Ten Hag, if indeed he can get sort of fired up, I'm just not sure about him at all. But, you know, you can almost imagine a team talk, is what I'm saying, about this is your last chance. This is the last trophy we can win. It's against Liverpool. It's our arch rivals. It's at Old Trafford. They're rocking into town talking about quadruples. You know, they're up there challenging for the league. They've already won one trophy. Our fans would love not more than to see you lay a punch, metaphorically, on their chin. So let's go out there and do it, lads. And that's how they came out. And I've said before on here that sometimes Liverpool are weird, and sometimes I think you see in how they start what the day is going to be like sometimes. And it was a bit like that, I thought. I thought they didn't start well. They're getting down at Joe Gomez time after time, and you're like, why aren't we figuring that out? Why aren't we figuring out that they're coming down that side? Yeah. You know, give them some help over there, do something, change it. You know what really infuriated me, actually, and I've not seen too much discussion about it. It was doing my head in our routine of goal kicks and stuff. You know, like, you know, the pass, Virgil, this, that, the other. And I'm like, I felt like we're inviting pressure on ourselves here, do you know what I mean? Like, I've said it before, I don't think we should be averse sometimes in situations like that to just going long a bit, especially when you've got Nunes on the pitch, do you know what I mean? Like, and yet so often, you know, it's confidence stroke arrogance, that, isn't it? We can play through them.
Loads of people get annoyed about this, but that's the point, isn't the whole point of that? Is to encourage them onto you. Because,
I know.
Because then you take them out the game. That's the point, and it's high risk, but it's high reward. It's like counter-pressing.
But I think, like shit, you know, there's nothing wrong though every now and again, especially in like moments of the match where you feel like they're getting encouragement and they were, you know, just have a little bit of nous. And I thought a little bit of nous was lacking generally across the 2 hours or whatever it was in the end. You know, because Liverpool did a lot of daft things and they let them off the hook. And look, you know, ultimately, like, everyone's doing the thing now of, well, that was the least important match left and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to win it. I don't like going there and watching us get beat. I like the FA Cup. I value it. I really enjoyed the Wolves Coventry game and stuff like that at the weekend. I'm still a traditionalist. I like going to Wembley. All of those things, and I don't want to do the thing down. And look, I get it. Yeah, we've still got the Europa League and the title to go for, and we've got every chance of winning both of those things. And that will still equal fantastic season. And we've got a trophy in the bag already. But I can't come on and sit here and just say, well, I'm not really bothered about that. I'm bothered.
Yeah, and I think, well, it's that funny. This ties into the stuff I do for a living. But like, I think people, and this is in the personal development world as well. Even like, this is an optimist thing. Everyone's too quick to want to get to the upside. Like, no, it's all right for us to talk about the shit bit first, you know? Like, it's all right for us to say we're gutted we've gone out. Especially because
like that.
Well, like that, against them, And they've drawn Coventry in the semi, which would have been us. Which means you're like without tempting fate, like you would imagine we'd have beaten Coventry to get to the FA Cup final, which means one of Klopp's last games, maybe his last game as Liverpool manager, would have been the FA Cup final. Yeah. You can't tell me that wouldn't have been a good way for him to sign off. And potentially, I was thinking about this in the build-up to the game, and I think this does tie into how we played, actually, and what you said earlier. One of his last games could have been, if not his last game, an FA Cup final against Pep Guardiola's Man City. What a way to wrap up the story. Do you know what I mean? Like an epic end of era clash to win the FA Cup. And I think the problem was all of us went there. You went to the game. I'm watching at home. The players went. And during the game, it all played out the way we thought. That they're shite and we'll beat them. I think that's the way we all thought about it. I think even the
teammates, like how he's set, like there's a lot of hindsight analysis now, you know what I mean, about he shouldn't have done this and he shouldn't have done that, and what about Thursday now? Thursday looks daft and all of that. I mean, I went on Thursday and like they were crap, and like, you know, Klopp's come out himself and said he would have subbed Salah, but he couldn't do because of Clark's injury. He thought Clark was carrying an injury and all that kind of stuff. And so instead, he's basically said to Salah, well, just don't track back.
Yeah.
And like loads of the game was almost that walking pace. Yeah. It was an absolute, possession. Like, I was saying afterwards, like a training session would probably have been more intense than a lot of that game. And plus, it's Thursday, Sunday, which I think, is in football parlance, most people say that's enough to recover. So I'm not really having it now means Klopp's crap because, he didn't rest half the team on Thursday or whatever. Shit, that's just it. But what I did think is, and I think you saw it, there are obviously still players that aren't full fitness. There are equally players that have played too many minutes and probably could do with a bit of a rest. And the combination of the two meant, well, we saw what it meant. But I think he went at it with I saw the team and I was like, wow, go on. That's pretty much the strongest team you can put out right now.
Yeah.
And I thought, and everything said about that was, right, we're winning it in the 90. We're going for it. And look, not a lot went wrong, really. We just didn't put the ball in the back of the net. Second half, we utterly dominated them. And we should have been out of sight. We should be sitting here talking about 5-1, 5-2, something like that. And like it's mad it's the other way around. And mistakes were made, and it is what it is. And we can't sort of turn back the clock. But like, let's not do the baby bathwater thing, do you know what I mean? Like, how good have we been? How many scrapes have we got ourselves out of? How many times have we turned it round? How many times has the spirit been unbelievable? How many comebacks have there been? How many late winners have there been? And this time it's the other way round. But let's not lose our shit here. We've won a trophy and we can win the league. We can win the league.
Yeah, well, and look, we'll come on to the positives of this because I do think there's a rocky story thing in this for us. But some of the stats that just go into what you were saying then, and this is courtesy of our mate at This Is Anfield, from minute 36 in the first half up until Anthony scored to make it 2-2 in the 87th minute. We scored 2. This is away at Old Trafford. We scored 2, had a further 14 shots, and almost double the amount of accurate passes they had. In the second half, 11 of our shots, 11 of our 13 shots came from inside the box, and we had 61% possession and touched the ball 27 times in United's area. And then even after all of that, the overall stats after 120 minutes was they ended up on 3.92 XG compared to our 2.12. And I think this is the big thing about it. That sums up our second half. We absolutely dominated. But you said about the Sparta Prague game being a walking pace. I think we did something that I haven't seen a Liverpool team do for ages. When you're explaining to someone who's not really interested, I was explaining to my girlfriend at home saying, Liverpool used to do this all the time. Whenever we played a team that was worse than us, we would lower our standards to match them instead of just beating them like City do.
Yeah.
And that's what I think happened in the second half. United was so bad. It was like our side went, we'll score about 5 in this second half. So we'll just do everything at walking pace and it'll be all okay. And nothing sums that up more than loads of people have mentioned this, but for me, it sums up the game and it sums up why stats are crap. That 5v2 we had, that didn't even result in a shot.
I know.
So that in stats, like terms means nothing.
Yeah.
You get nothing for that. You get more for someone just having a pot shot from the edge of the box. But in any other like day of the week with this Liverpool team, we score from that opportunity, and it was just poor. Like, and that happened a number of times, and it does take us on to, like, I want to have a chat about a few specific things. And I know lots of people are talking about this, but I wanted us to have our little say on it and see what you think, because he's come up recently. What's your view on Gakpo?
I think there's a lot of, like, you know, all of a sudden everything's his fault thing going on, and you know, like, I don't feel, you know, and some unfair stuff about, like, you know, seeing some stuff about, like, his mentality being questioned and all this kind of stuff. He's probably not in the greatest of form right now, and he didn't have, you know, it's not a classic performance, obviously, from him. You know, he's chewing the ball, he's not doing anything with it, he looks a bit slow, he looks a bit lethargic, all of those things. But equally, you know, it's not like he's never had a good game for Liverpool. He's in double figures goals-wise this season, yeah. And so, for, you know, in terms of what he now is, which is essentially a backup striker, you know, he's not vying at the moment currently to be first choice, is he? I just think, again, some of it's just a bit unfair, and some of it's born out of frustration. I don't, again, you know, the baby bathwater point. Like, he's not Firmino. Firmino was outstanding. Firmino was unbelievable. Like, I loved Firmino, and he's not him. And he's brought in to kind of be him, hasn't he? And he's not as good.
But I think in his defence even further, I didn't expect it, as I raised this, to be defending him, but to be balanced. I don't think he gets given enough opportunity to be Firmino now. Often we bring him on and we're asking him to do things like, shall we be playing like either in midfield or we be playing out wide? Yeah. And you're like, well, that's like, think of all the criticism we had of Brendan Rodgers for playing Firmino on the wing, and then Klopp came in and went, why are you playing him on the wing? Play him there and he'll be brilliant. I think if you were chanting,
could be Gakpo, madder though. It could be madder. He could be at Man United and he could be playing centre half.
I mean,
I've no idea what he was doing at the end there.
But this is another point about how
subbing on all these fellas and going, don't worry about the formation.
Like, yeah, this is another point about that, isn't it? How did we not win? We all had to go with Chelsea after the cup final and all piled on them. Of like, how didn't they just beat us when we were bringing on all these kids? But at no point in that game did, like, as they were making all those subs, did our lads seem to get together and go, fellas, Bruno Fernandes is playing centre-back here. Can we not just box this off now? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Nunes, what, you're knackered a bit? Oh, just go and stand on him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We'll just keep kicking the ball to you. And you... There are times in footy, and I know this is very basic, and the people like Klopp would be screaming at us, like, talking about, like, but I do think there are times in footy when everyone overcomplicates it. And you're like, do you know when they're playing a defence and the only defender they've got there is Harry Maguire? You should be doing a bit better, boys. Like, you don't need to overcomplicate it here.
That's just what's so frustrating about it. It's such a missed opportunity against the poor side, and you know, them beating us, you know, it's not sour grapes or anything. They're just still not that good, and I can't see them winning the thing. They'll probably beat Coventry, like, but they'll lose in the final, I would imagine.
Well, we're in the process of trying to get a United, a famous United YouTuber on the show for the preview to the United League game, aren't we? And sort of I'll be saying to him is, think about what you've done here, though. Think about what you've done, because it only dawned on me after we got beat. I know everyone was dismissing this, including Guardiola a few weeks ago, but they are creeping towards a double treble without anyone really talking about it.
It's only 8-1, I think.
And by United knocking us out, they have inadvertently increased the chances of Man City doing the treble again. Because who's going to stop Man City winning the FA Cup? United. Sorry, lads, that's not going to happen. That is not. I'd be absolutely amazed if they play Man City and Man City do anything other than annihilate them. Then you look at the Champions League draw and think, the only good thing about this season is we're in with the chance of doing something about it when we couldn't last year. So we've got Arsenal have got a chance of stopping them. Chelsea have got a chance of stopping them. United will have a chance of stopping them. And we've got a chance in the league. But United could have helped them get like one step closer to that. So I hear people saying, I know the phone and stuff again, like you said, Joe, they've stopped us doing the quadruple. And you're like, well, maybe they'd actually prefer City to do the double treble than watch us do a quadruple, including the Europa League. I guess that's the case. But
so yeah, I just thought I'd look this up. Sorry, mate. Gakpo, 13 for the season, 13 goals, 4 assists. So he's above Diaz on both of those. So Diaz is 11 goals, 3 assists. So if we're going to start throwing people under the bus, and I'm not throwing Diaz under the bus. I thought he was good yesterday. He was a good attacking threat. He was a way that Liverpool got out time after time.
But this is why I raised him, though, because I think I feel for Gakpo, because I think there's a bit of a thing gone on here where I used to say this about Harry Wilson. Sounds like a mad sidetrack to go on, but Harry Wilson was our best prospect coming through the youth ranks. I remember seeing him. I've mentioned this before, but I remember seeing him when he was about 15. Playing at Anfield in a kids game, and he was unbelievable, and he was just destined to get into Liverpool's first team. And what happened wasn't anything to do with Harry Wilson. It was that we got better. Our first team, Klopp came in and turned us into a world-class team, and all of a sudden we were too good for Harry Wilson to get in the side. And I think what's happened with Gakpo is not that he's not good enough, but our forward line has turned into, because of the evolution since the famous front three, it's turned into an all-action. Think about the other 4 strikers, or the other 4 main attacking players. Salah, Núñez, Jota, and Diaz. They're all high-impact players. So if you throw any of them on as a sub, they're going to impact the game with pace and with that raw exuberance that they bring to a match. The Gakpo, that's just not in his game. It's a bit like throwing Firmino on as a sub. He's not going to impact a game the same way as a sub. And I think there's a strategic thing here for me, which I'd love to have the conversation with Klopp. And I understand what the counter argument would be, that you're potentially weakening your starting lineup. But I think in an era of 5 subs and potential extra time away at Old Trafford, there's an argument to start Gakpo.
Yeah,
and say that, look, you do the first 60, and then we're bringing on Diaz, Núñez, or Salah against tired legs, and that changes things.
You could say the same about Robertson as well. You can throw him into the mix because, essentially, our subs started to make us worse, and theirs, seemingly made them better, which is mad. I mean, when I said before, I'm not having them. I'm not having them. Anthony, he's just lucky to score. I'm sorry, but he's just lucky. He just swivels and it's something that falls for him in the area. He's not suddenly good. He's still shit.
Yeah.
And so, longer term, or even the rest of this season, I'd be shocked if they suddenly go on a run and they're racking up results. We won the game twice. We won the game twice. We won at a normal time. We won at an extra time. And it's our own fault that we're not in the semi-finals of the FA Cup.
100%. Well, and that seems to be what most people are saying as well, which is why I started like that. That wasn't for me. And United fans might argue against this, but it's one. And look, how many games have we had where we rob the opposition? And we won a cup a few weeks ago where Chelsea should have just beaten us, and they didn't. So it's another one of them. But we're on the other side of it this time. The reality is they are no better now than they were the day before they played us. And all the criticism that we've seen levelled at them from ex-United pros like Neville and Keane, we saw firsthand. They are no better than I thought they were. And it's just unbelievable that we didn't beat them.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously we've got to go back there as well.
Well, let's get into... We'll go on. You were going to say something and then
all I was going to say is we've got to go back there, and I'll absolutely fancy us all day when we go back there. Sunday, 7th of April. Hopefully I'll get a ticket. Hopefully I'll be there, and I will fancy our chances all day. And that isn't being cocky scouser, that isn't being anything else. That's based on what I've seen at Liverpool, what I've seen of them, and as you just said, what's happened yesterday doesn't change a thing, because I can't imagine Liverpool being that loose in terms of their finishing, in terms of the final ball again. And when you said before about when we exchanged messages at half time, so obviously at half time we turned it around, hadn't we? We're 2-1 up.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I can tell you now, no one in that ground thought what would unfold, no one could have predicted that United were going to at that point. They were quiet. They were like, Liverpool have turned this round. Every time they go forward, they look like they're scoring a goal. And we all just expected that to continue into the second half. And it did. We just didn't put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah. We made the wrong decision over and over again. And then we gifted them goals. So I don't know what Núñez was doing. I don't know why he's out there. I don't know why he passes inside. I don't know why he sets them up. He's goosed. The manager said himself he was. Elliott, similar. It's a daft one. I don't know what he's trying to do. It's a bit like what Forrest were like. We were on here criticising Forrest, weren't we? Saying, well, what's he doing?
Yeah.
We can level the same with Elliott there. I still like the fella. I still like Núñez. I still like the team. I still like the manager. I still like the squad. I still like this season. We've been on an unbelievable ride, and we're still on it. And look, it's a punch in the stomach. It feels horrible, but we'll all be all right.
Well, let's just finish the therapy of the negative stuff, and then we'll come into the positive stuff. Because the Núñez and Elliott mistakes, again, 2 individual crazy errors. The thing that's been mentioned loads as well, which we should mention, is the setup for that corner in that, literally the last minute of extra time. This is the thing about the tiredness thing. United looked absolutely goosed after half an hour. They even mentioned it in the commentary on the telly. The United midfielders are blowing here. So it doesn't surprise me at all that everyone in the ground was thinking, this is done. Because at home, even though when we went 1-0 down, I've never been more relaxed going 1-0 down at Old Trafford in my life. I remember just thinking, well, it'll be sound, because all those big holes in the middle of the pitch are still there, and we're just going to run through them in a minute. And we did. And then, so the tiredness thing I think is a bit of a red herring, because we should have done the game. The game should have been wrapped up in normal time. And if the game was wrapped up in normal time, we wouldn't have got to extra time. And we only looked goosed in extra time. But then once we are goosed in extra time, I don't know whether you saw this in the ground, there was a moment in the middle of extra time before he got subbed where Diaz was trying to track back. And when you're talking about someone who's explosive and never gives in and all that, and he looked like he was running on sand, and you're like, oh, we've gone here. We've got a few lads whose legs have just completely gone, and we need to make changes.
Well, bear in mind, he had a break. Because of what happened with the Zaha fella and all that. Rightly so, by the way. Mm-hmm. There's only Van Dijk who's played more minutes than him this season.
Which is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah. And especially when you consider how he plays.
I was just about to say, it's not like... Well, think about Van Dijk's movement on the pitch. How many kilometres Van Dijk will have run in those minutes compared to how many... Not just how many kilometres Diaz will have run, but the way in which he's doing them. Yeah. He's basically doing shuttle sprints all the time, isn't he?
And he's elbowing people and holding people off, and it's like permanently the Benny Hill music's playing as he's going around the pitch, keeps emerging with the ball, and you're like, how's he doing that? I'm knackered watching him.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But we'll take all that into account, and how goosed we are, and we know the players on the pitch know they're goosed. We know they're goosed watching them. Klopp knows they're goosed. Like he said after the game, didn't he? It's the first time I've seen my team really struggling. It's crazy to me that with the senior pros we've still got, and we've got the coaching staff on the side, we've got a corner at the end of the game, and we're just going to leave Conor Bradley standing there and put everyone. We didn't even have anyone, because Endo and Elliott both end up on the edge of the box, so there's no one even there to stop a break beyond just the edge of the box. So think about being Conor Bradley in that moment when you're like, shit, I've got the United team basically running at me to win a game in stoppage time here. That was, again...
And we'd already nearly give them it in normal time. Yeah. Everyone seems to have forgot about, they had the chance to have boxed it there as well, which, again, is mad. So we didn't learn from that either. But I think the thing with that is, again, sort of theme for the day is the baby in the bathwater, and just, let's not go too far down the road of absolutely hammering them. The thing that's got us to where we are in many respects is, like you said before, all the risk taking that we do. It feels like it's like they've gone, we'll just throw everything into this season. Let's have no regrets about anything. And it's just that, maybe because they've done that so many times this season and it's worked, they just didn't have it in them this time to go, just lock up the shop, you know what I mean? But it's done. that is. I mean, when Elliot scores and it's talk about luck. That's lucky. It's taking a deflection. That should have been it. Shut the thing down. Yeah. Keep the ball. And as you say, don't take mad risks like throwing everyone up for a corner like that. Why?
Yeah, but it's
because they back themselves to score off it.
This does tie into the longer term stuff, doesn't it? So if you're going to stick with us and come over and watch us on Patreon, we're going to talk a bit about Michael Edwards coming back and the new sporting director, and we're going to check in on Xabi Alonso because he's still the clear favourite.
Be pleased to know, by the way, mate, that so there's some other little thing that's popped up here that I've no idea why, and neither will you, and now we'll need to work this out. So someone was saying into the button where they would be able to give us, the super cash or whatever it's called.
Cash.
I'll just keep making new words up for it. There's just
sounds like something from like an 80s
like
show
from
on telly.
Strike It Lucky or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of that, there's just a smiley face there.
Yeah.
Why? Because someone said, "Why is that, lads?" I don't know.
Yeah, but it's mad. That is we're the wrong people to ask.
Just go on, buy us a coffee instead. Buy us a coffee. That works.
Or just go old school and send us money in the post.
In a card.
Can you do
or
that?
Just come up to us in the street and give us it.
The next thing came into my head then, proper like a dad thing to say, well, stamps are legal tender,
A fella stopped me I went to see Cast on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
And a fella stopped me in the gig and said, I just wanted to say, love the late challenge. I've got Kopi's book as well. Really like Paul's stuff too and all that. And he said, I just wanted to say that to you because you always say on the show, oh, you should have come up, you should have said hello. So he said, I'm saying hello. So fair play to you, mate. That was a nice little touch.
Very nice.
Yeah.
My sister had one, like she was away on my brother-in-law's, like brother-in-law once a year goes on a ski trip with his work, big like business networking thing. And my sister went this year and someone was talking about the Late Challenge podcast. Like she'd mentioned it in a message to me, but I just assumed she'd started the conversation, do you mean? And said, oh, Paul Cope's my brother. And it turned out that wasn't the case. Like they were in a conversation and someone was like, oh yeah, start talking about us, and then was like, oh, I used to watch them on Anfield Rap, but now I watch them on the Late Challenge. It's boss, blah, blah, blah. And she chipped in going, that's my brother. And I was like, oh, that came up before they knew you were my sister? Yeah. She's like, yeah. I was like, look at that.
It's good, isn't it?
Getting mentioned in Val d'Isere.
It is good, all that. There was a fella next to me as well yesterday. I mate had a good chat with him, and he was like, you been the snooker? Yeah. And I was like, no. And he was like, I'm the one who sent you the thing saying like you should try and get in at Manchester, like. And I did try and get in with the Manchester one, but all the good days and the good matches have gone. I just want to see Ronnie. That's on my bucket list. See Ronnie O'Sullivan play snooker live. But anyway,
we'll get there. I want to see him too because I don't think I've ever seen him.
But you've been, haven't you?
Because I've been a few times, but like it was probably before he was.
Who's the best fella you saw?
Oh, you're doing the thing now where we ask each other about stuff that's in our memory. I don't know. I can't remember who I saw. It was at Preston. It would have been Hendry's era. So but I can't remember whether I saw him. I remember seeing Roger Federer at Wimbledon. That stuck in my memory. That was good.
What's happening? Why are people putting things that make no sense in the comments?
I'm not looking. Go on. Like what?
Vase of Flowers says, I love Steve Nicol in the Anfield Rap video. I mean, that's nice. Like, I'm made up for Vase of Flowers. I'm just wondering what the relevance is to what we've been saying.
So I say to my mum all the time, what's that got to do with the price of fish? My niece, when you say something, and like, do you remember when Rafa used to do this? Rafa used to use Spanish sayings and translate them word for word to English. And then journalists would kick off because it didn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah, like it's like a piece of sugar on the mountain.
Yeah. Do you remember that one? And everyone's like, what? And I was like, yeah, but think it through. Like, our sayings don't make sense if you translate them literally, do they? And I say this to my mum all the time. She'll just say something and I'll go to her, well, what's that got to do with the price of fish? And my niece, a few years ago, my niece was like, why do you keep saying that about fish? And I was like, what? She went, my nan will say something and then you just say the saying about fish.
You like this one, mate, yeah.
Go on.
Duke Valentino. Obviously his real name.
His real name, yeah.
Hey lads, could you talk about the footballers collapsing? Or are you too scared?
I love it when people
Matt
do that.
Letizier's been speaking out for ages. Yeah, because he's a good one to follow, mate. Yeah, seems full of sense. Not weird at all. So you want us to do conspiracy theories? Well, we've already done that, mate.
Yeah, don't worry. Come and see us on the Patreon. You're going to get some conspiracy theory. I'm lining Rob up
what am I meant to be
for the
scared
international
of,
break.
Like, what's the bit that I'm scared of? Tell me what I'm meant to be scared of, mate. Anyway, go on. We've digressed like we always do.
We always do. But it's a nice digression, because there was something I did want to mention before we go on to the, like, we'll wrap up. We've got 10 minutes left. We'll wrap up on the positive stuff. You sent me a picture of half and half United and Liverpool scarves outside the ground.
I know. It's just mad to me that they exist. And look,
who is buying them?
When I saw them, I just thought, well, you know. And to be fair, I've talked about things I heard United fans singing and saying. I did actually hear them singing a song, some of these lads that I was walking up by, about what you are if you wear a half and half. And I kind of agreed. But yeah, it to me, it's just so wrong, and it goes against, like, you know, the fan culture that I've grown up with. And some people I know just say it's not a thing, and you're just being an archy old man, and if people want to buy them, let them buy them, and all of them things. But I just don't get, like, if I'm one of the 9,000 in our end, why would I want something with their badge around my neck or around my son's neck? Because, you know, I hear, like, oh, it's just a souvenir of the day. And you know, it's like what when you used to buy a program. Well, it's not that, is it? It's an item of clothing.
Yeah.
It's a thing where you show your support.
But didn't someone make it a half and half shirt at some point? And you're like, we're taking...
Wow.
What? Yeah.
I mean, hat, scarf and a badge, to give Mick a shout out. I know that he does an half and half scarf. Liverpool and Liverpool Reserves.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is right.
I've even told you about it always reminds me of this. I've probably mentioned it to you before. I had a boss, a partner in the first big law firm I worked in when I was just a trainee. And I remember saying to him once, who do you support? And his answer was Liverpool and Man United. That's what his answer was to who he supported.
What?
Yeah. And I remember in that moment...
Where was he from? Warrington?
He was from Liverpool. But I don't know whereabouts on the map.
Oh.
But I remember thinking in that moment, I lost all respect. That was the first conversation I ever had with this man. And when you just lose all respect for someone in one sentence.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, me and you won't be getting on then. That's
so
weird.
He buys one then. So there's one.
I guess they get
there's one person.
He wasn't the type of fella who'd buy a scarf outside the ground.
Well, I mean, I imagine a lot of people will say it's people who just come bucket listers. They don't know anything about the game. They don't support either team. They just paid grands for a ticket and they want to come and take off, go to a Liverpool and Man United. But how many of them are in the ground?
Can't be enough that you make a box of them, can there?
I mean, no. I mean, there definitely wasn't any in the upper tier of the Liverpool support. I can tell you that. I didn't spot any.
Imagine if someone had one on in the ground.
It honestly baffles me. It does baffle me. And look, I suppose the not for me and all that kind of thing. But I tweeted it and a lot of people seem to agree with me.
I don't think that's not an old man thing, is it? I'm not having that. I know people have been revealing things to us lately that are old men, things that we didn't even know. Like things like memes and GIFs are apparently an old man thing now. And you're like, fuck, hell.
Look, people are just being daft now. Come on. Phil Babb's better than Canate, is he, Dave? Yeah. I mean, I think Dave just wanted a shout out there, didn't he? Well, in Dave Wood, 1982, for the most ridiculous comment on here, even more ridiculous than the one about Matt Letizia. Well done, mate. Phil Babb was not better than Canate.
But that's something that hasn't been mentioned. Canate's just like, he's got one of those like mysterious injuries now, hasn't he? Where it looked like he just had a knock and now he's missed 3 games.
This is the thing. This is why no one wins a quadruple, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, you know, Liverpool have played 5 games more than Man United since January. And then there's another stat, I think I sent it to you before, didn't I, about sort of the recent minutes and all that.
Yeah.
And you know, their workload compared to ours and all the rest of it. And
you sent it to me, so because obviously Klopp referenced the fatigue and got a cob on with a journalist and stormed out. This was our 9th match across 4 different competitions in 29 days, and the second time we played 120 minutes in that sequence, which is mad, isn't it? Come on, man.
So someone's put, if it was Canate, he would have broken the post against Chelsea with his balls. You know, the famous Phil Babb incident. I like that, mate. Thank you.
Right, we've got 5 minutes. Let's end on even more positive news than that. Going back to what you said before, and Klopp said the same. Look, in general, the team's in an outstanding situation at the moment. We got through all these different situations, absolutely exceptional. Today, we could have won the game and we would have deserved it, but we lost it. The first positive that I thought, well, not the first one, because the first one I thought was, it's a good kick up the arse, I think. This is like, I often think of Rocky movies in life. It helps me get through. And I think we talked about this when we talked about why is Klopp so popular. And it's because he has he
likes them.
He has, well, it doesn't surprise me at all. Like, he has that, losing and winning thing that all great stories have it. It's why Guardiola's not that popular and Guardiola's teams are not that popular. It's why Floyd Mayweather may be the best pound-for-pound boxer of all time, but no one really liked him, because it's boring watching someone just win every week. People like the comeback story. And it did remind me, I was thinking about it as I was watching it, thinking afterwards, like, which Rocky is this like? And it was, that second half was a bit like in Rocky 3 where, he's just got a bit comfortable, and then he has a fight and he gets beaten up, and it's like, right, you've got to find yourself again now. You've got to find the meanness inside you and come back. And I think that for this end of the season, that's potentially the best thing that could have happened to us, because now when we go to Old Trafford in 3 weeks, Klopp's got the perfect team talk. Same for when we go to Goodison. We can't go there going, look, these are crap, we're just going to beat them. You've got to go and actually beat them. So we've got to come back from the international break, win 10 games, and if you win those 10 games, you're going to win the league. So that's the aim. Get some players back from injury. But the other
Jota back.
Jota back. Yeah, Jota's the main. Jota is the main one, because there's 2 games on the run now. If we'd have brought Jota on as a sub, we'd have beat Man City and we'd have beat Man United. I have no doubts about that.
Something that really annoys me on Soccer Base, and for the first time ever, I've gone, oh no, sound that. So if a game goes to extra time or penalties, they put it down on your record as a draw with an asterisk on it. Oh. So draw with an asterisk yesterday, lads.
You didn't take it this time, yeah. Yeah. So we drew.
But if you run through those games now, next game, Liverpool v Brighton at home, then Liverpool v Sheffield United at home, then we go to Old Trafford.
You have to win all 3 of them.
And
well, we have to win all 10.
Probably, yeah. But why aren't we winning those next 3? Yeah. What is there to be sad about? I can't wait to get in the ground again for Brighton. I'm going. Kara's going. We are short odds to win that game. The ground will be back. Like this is now, we're now at that point where we can do the fun thing 100%. All start saying to each other every time you see another Liverpool fan, you need to be bang up for that Brighton game. You need to bring your A game. Let's get behind them. Let's get the ground rocking, because there's a title there to be won.
Well, look for everyone who's going to the ground themselves. You're counting down the games you've got left to watch Klopp.
Yeah.
That's literally where we are now. There's a handful of games left, because we've got 10 games in the league. I don't know what the split is, but let's say half of them are home games, and then you've
6.
got potentially 2 in Europe.
Oh no, sorry, 5.
So we've only got 7.
I just counted that, Atlanta.
So a maximum of 7 home games left under Klopp. That's it, and we're done. So go and make the most of it, because
absolutely
we are fast approaching the end of this. The other positive to end on, or 2 things, we're going to talk. We might talk about City and Arsenal and the European draws, because I think they have definitely helped us since we were last on. 2 good things. We love our omens, don't we? And you sent me this. Jed Raya, I think he's the official club statistician, isn't he?
Yeah.
The last time Liverpool lost 4-3 in the FA Cup in 1990 to Crystal Palace, we ended the season as league champions. So not a bad omen. And the other thing which I do like is,
I like that we can compare Man United to Crystal Palace in that context as well.
And to finish on them, this might be enough for him to keep his job. And if they decide to keep him as their manager, considering what we saw, I'm more than happy with that. And it goes back to something we've often said, haven't we? Like, I'd do this if I owned a football club. I'd be keeping an eye on what the rival fans think of our manager. Like, do they want you to keep him? Because think about how everyone's reacting to Klopp. And I know it's a no-brainer. Every rival fan will be delighted when Klopp leaves at the end of the season, regardless of who we get next. Like, doesn't matter. They just want Klopp gone. We want Ten Hag to get his contract renewed That's like I remember every time Solskjaer won a game, I was made up because I was like, it's added another 10 games to his tenure, that'll be fine. So maybe this is,
I wish I'd sent you this now, but I'm just doing my usual thing of not remembering who it was. I'm quickly trying to find them. But did you see a tweet that seemed to do quite well from someone who does some kind of like West Ham channel, and he was like, "Sorry, it opened with "Sorry, Liverpool fans, but no one likes Klopp. He's not a nice fella." Blah 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 blah. All based on that he got a bit of a titty lip with that reporter, and it was like, "So what are you apologising for? I don't care." Like, he's the manager of Liverpool, the club I support. We've won virtually everything under him. He just needs the Europa League for the lot.
Full out.
And we're still in that, and we've got every chance of winning that. Do you think I'm bothered what you think about the match? I couldn't give a shit.
Do you know what I love about people like that as well, though? People love doing this on the internet. Like, purporting to speak on behalf of everybody else.
Yeah. Sorry,
Liverpool fans. I'll just chip in on behalf of every other fan in the world. We don't like him. Like, I'm not sure that's true, mate.
Not really bothered. Like, not here for you to like. I want the Liverpool manager to give Liverpool every chance of winning every competition, to fight our corner, and he's done all of that. We've had an unbelievable time with this manager. I don't
know whether there's a word
I'm
for
all
this.
right, what a West Ham fan thinks.
But I prefer it when they hate him. Like, why do I want you to like our manager? I don't care. We all know this. When you've got those players who play for your team, who everybody else hates but you love, that makes them better. Like, I prefer that. You don't need to like our manager. Leave us alone. Anyway, we'll leave it there. We are gonna talk. We're gonna roll on into the Patreon show, and we're gonna talk about the European draws. We're going to talk about a bit of the run-in, and we're going to have a chat about Michael Edwards, because I don't know whether you saw the article in The Athletic about him coming back, but it was really interesting, and there's a lot to it. And there may also be we're going to have a little chat about Xabi Alonso, and there's some random stuff in there as well if we get to it. So come and join us there. If you're watching live and you want to carry on watching live, go to the Patreon now, and once we've shuffled everything around a bit, we'll be there in about 10 or 15 minutes, I would think. If you're listening or watching to this recorded, watching it back, do the usual thing. If you want to come and subscribe, come and do the free trial. If you don't want to do that, but you want to throw us a few quid to help support what we're doing, keep us going, you can go to the Buy Us a Coffee link now. And if you don't want to do any of that, which we completely understand in this day and age, share it with your mates, tell people about it, like the video on YouTube, leave a review on a podcast app saying how good you think it is. If you think it's crap, don't leave a review anywhere. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Up to that.